Welcome to High PSI TV. Today we put a set of headers on the Tahoe. Pretty exciting for me. I have had the built motor in this truck for about 3 years and I've never put headers on it. I don't like the noise. That's my argument. I don't like how loud headers are. I don't like the tinginess to them. And I drive this truck a lot, so I didn't want the extra noise. In preparation for future modifications, we are going to put a set of headers on this truck today. And this will be a little instructional video, kind of short, just going over how to put headers on a new body style Tahoe truck, Silverado, Sierra, Yukon, anything. All the headers are going to be the same. Almost every LS you install headers the same way. So this will be a quick instructional video on how to do that. These are the headers that we're going to be putting on the truck. These are 1 7/8 coated pace setter headers. The reason I went with coated is because they look good and they're actually not that much more expensive than the uncoated version. The part number on these is 702266. 1 7/8 primaries, 3-inch collector, and I've got a 3-inch Y pipe to go with these as well. The reason that I went with 1 7/8 headers is because I'm going to need to get all of the exhaust out of the cylinder head as fast as I can, and this is the best way to do it. Normally headers for trucks are 1 3/4, but because we are going boosted, we went with 1 7/8. Alright, here's the Y pipe that comes with the header kit. This is aluminized mild steel. It's not coated like the headers are. You cannot get this coated. They all come the same way. This has a factory connection on it, so it can go to any catback that they make for these trucks. It comes with this style horseshoe clamp, which I'm not going to use. I'm going to put regular band clamps on it, which I have here. The problem with these clamps is when you tighten them down, they tend to distort and squish the tube that you put them on, and it's really hard to get back apart if you ever have to. So I'll show you that a little bit later in the video, how we're going to use a different style of clamp on this Y pipe to make it work even better. Alright, so the first step in this header install is going to be removing the spark plug wires and the spark plugs from the top side. And then we'll get the truck on the lift and start on the bottom side. While we're up here, we're going to remove the dipstick tube, because it makes it a little bit easier to get the plugs and plug wires off. Alright, now we have the plug wires and plugs out of the cylinder heads. We have the dipstick tube out. We're going to put this up in the air and start doing stuff underneath. You guys might have noticed that I was using an electric ratchet to pull the spark plugs out. That's okay in my book if you're not planning on reinstalling those plugs and never use air tools or electric tools to reinstall the spark plugs. If you mess up the threads in the cylinder head, you're going to have a big problem. Alright, now that we are under the truck, first thing we have to do is disconnect our Y pipe from our stock flange here. And then we're going to come up, and there's 3 bolts holding the Y pipe to the manifold on this side, 3 bolts holding the Y pipe to the manifold on that side. I actually have one stud broken off, if you guys can see, so it's a good thing we're replacing this stuff anyways. Alright guys, now that the Y pipe is loose, you can get your hands up in there, disconnect all 4 of your O2 sensors. Alright, to make my life a little bit easier in getting this old Y pipe out, I'm going to drop the transmission cross member down. Alright guys, now that the Y pipe's out of the way, I'm going to put a bolt back in each side of the trans cross member and let the transmission back down to rest on it so I can let the truck down and start back on the top side. Okay, back on the top side, we are ready to remove our manifold bolts and pull the manifolds out of the truck. I'm trying to get the electric ratchet in there to make this easier, but the back bolt on the driver's side is really tight space, so I'm using a ratchet wrench to get that one out. You're so disconnected, so follow the whole, so addicted now to the world within. Alright guys, the manifolds are out. Passenger side comes out the top, driver's side falls out through the bottom. Alright, so there's the old manifold and Y-pipe setup, and there's the new long tube header and Y-pipe setup, no caps. The new headers are going to install from underneath. What I find easiest to do is to put them up from underneath and prop them up against something, whether it be a cylinder head bolt or if there's a heat shield that you can clip them onto to hold them so you can lower the truck down and get your bolts in from the top side. You're so disconnected. Headers are laying in place, ready to be bolted up. Quick tip guys, I always use new GM header gaskets or manifold gaskets. There's your part number. Anything else that any other header company supplies will leak. Always use GM gaskets. When you feel like you're all alone, you're so disconnected, so follow the whole. I'm so addicted now to the world within. Now you see the wicked side of me. I've had enough, but it pulls me in. Now you see the wicked side of me. Alright, now that the headers are installed and tight with our new GM gaskets, I'm going to finish up everything up top. So I'm going to put the dipstick tube back in, I'm putting new spark plugs in, and I'm going to reuse the MSD spark plug wires. The reason that I'm putting new spark plugs in is because this truck will be boosted in the next month or so. So we're running NGK TR6s. These are a little bit colder than a stock plug to help compensate for boost and ethanol fuel. Here's our new spark plugs. We're going to gap all these to 36 thousandths and install them in the truck. Okay, so this is the top side complete. I'd recommend running MSD spark plug wires. They have a bendable boot at the bottom on the spark plug end, and it helps get the spark plug wires around the header. One thing I forgot to mention is this block off plate down here. My truck does not have EGR, so you have to install the block off plate on the header. I painted that with some silver high temp paint just so it matches a little bit better and it won't rust. These are the clamps that are provided with the pace setter Y pipe. Just a regular horseshoe clamp. I'm going to use band clamps instead. And what you need to do is you need to come into every joint and the width of the clamp, put a slit on each side so that this has room to squeeze, and that'll give you a better seal than these clamps will. Alright, so you can see I've got the Y pipe in here, slid onto the headers. So there's a joint here, and a joint here to give you some adjustability. I'm really close to the drive shaft here, so when I tighten it, I'm going to leave the pry bar in here to kind of help space it down. And then I'm really close to the transmission pan. I'll probably end up having to come in and dimple this tube a little bit to get it to clear. Aside from that, everything clears really nice. Okay, so that completes our Y-pipe installation. Factory style connection here, a clamp here, and then it just slides on the headers on both sides, and then there's a slip joint in the middle just so you can adjust everything and make it fit. So everything is hooked up, O2 sensors are plugged in. All that's left to do is start it up and see how it sounds. Okay, so this is it. Everything done, no leaks, everything sounds good. Not as loud as I thought it would be. I think it sounds pretty good. Overall, a pretty easy install. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and that's gonna do it for this step in modifying the Tahoe. As always, comment, like, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.